My name is Abeth, Farag. I'm the founder of Swing Station, and I teach Lindy Hop and vintage jazz in Balboa. I started this project in Portugal in 2007. It wasn't actually something I had in mind when I came to Portugal. I moved here to teach English, which is what I did for 9 years. But I had learned how to dance Lindy Hop when I was living in California. I'm from Los Angeles originally, and I moved up to the Bay Area, like around San Francisco. I don't remember exactly when, 1998 or 1999, and it was the time when swing dancing was coming back into was becoming fashionable again, was all the rage in the States. There was a Gap commercial that had like a little bit of Lindy Hop in it, and it made everybody go crazy wanting to dance. And when I first saw that dance, I thought, well, I first saw swing. I didn't really know what it was. I remember seeing the film Swing Kids, and I just knew that seemed so exciting because when I was a young child, I used to watch all the old movies, and I wanted to sing like them, dance like them, listen to the music that they were listening to, and do all of that kind of thing. So when swing dancing became really popular in the 90s, it made sense to me to try to do it. So my friend and I signed up for some classes. We signed up for East Coast Swing, as we didn't really know what the difference between all the dances were. We just like, okay, we go for East Coast Swing. So we started learning, and I was so excited to show off my moves. So we started going out to the clubs and the bars in San Francisco and trying to dance the little bit that we were learning. And there were loads of live bands at the time playing in the city, and so we would go and we'd kind of follow the live bands at these venues that were pretty small venues a lot of times, and people weren't really dancing what we were dancing, so it was kind of confusing. I would go out there like, yeah, I've been learning now for like a few weeks, and I know some stuff, and I'm going to go out there and dance, and then somebody would ask me to dance, and they would start doing something I had no idea what they were doing, and I finally realized as I started talking to people that they were doing the Lindy Hop. And I thought, well, I'm learning how to swing dance. Lindy Hop is swing dance. How come we can't communicate what's happening? And I finally discovered that what I was doing was a 6-count dance, and what everybody else was doing was Lindy Hop, an 8-count dance that included 6 counts and 4 counts and 10 counts and everything counts. So that was why I was a bit confused. I was a bit more restricted in what I was learning at first. And that was when I realized that, I think I want to learn that other dance, the Lindy Hop. It seems a bit more exciting and more complex. And in the meantime, I started going to Golden Gate Park on Sunday mornings, and they had a session called Lindy in the Park, which they still have. Some faithful dancers volunteer to take music out to the park every Sunday morning so that people can go and dance. And I would go by there every Sunday, and I was a primary school teacher at the time, and I would take my tests for my students to correct, and I would sit in the park and correct them, and I would watch all the people dancing, and I would just say, yeah, that's it, that's really cool, and they're smiling so big, and the music was good, and it felt so good that just sitting there near them felt really nice. And a friend of a friend recognized me, and he came over and talked to me, and he said, don't you want to dance? And I was like, yeah, I want to dance, but I don't know how to dance that. I only know East Coast Swing. And he said, you just come, you're going to figure it out. Come and learn it. I was like, no. I was really scared. And so he said, well, you should go learn. And I said, yeah, I should. Who should I take it from? Because I've only taken East Coast Swing. And he gave me the contact to two teachers at the time, Paul Overton and Sharon Ash, and recommended them highly that I should go and learn from them. And they were running a weekly dance also in San Francisco called the 920 Special that still exists, not with them anymore, but it's still going strong. And so I took the contact and I said, yeah, once I start learning, then I'll come back and I'll dance at Lindy in the Park. So I signed up for the classes with Paul and Sharon, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was the total highlight to my week was to go and learn from them, and they were really great teachers. They made us all feel really good. I don't remember a lot of, I remember learning tandem Charleston. I remember that class. I remember the partner that I danced with. And then I remember that Paul nicknamed me A-Train. He always called me A-Train. So that was kind of cool too, which is the name of a song, Take the A-Train. And I would go to the classes so excited, and then I would go out to 920 Special every week and dance. Even though I had to wake up super early in the morning to go teach the kids, I would still always go out and dance. And then I'd go anywhere I could, like anywhere, anytime that I had a chance. Every Thursday I'd go dancing. I'd go to my classes. I think they were Wednesday. I'd go out on Saturdays if there was a dance. I'd go to Lindy Park on the Sunday. I would just go to everything I could until I ended up moving outside of California. I moved actually to Morocco for a year to teach at an American school there. And so I kind of left this dance that I had become so addicted to. I had to leave it behind. But I found some people in Morocco, in Casablanca, who were interested in learning a little bit of it, and I showed them the little bit that I know, and I taught like a really informal class here and there. And then I moved to Portugal to teach English, another country that didn't have swing dancing. But I would, every time I could, I would go to a festival outside of Portugal so I could go dancing. It was maybe twice a year maximum that I could do that. And I would come back so full of excitement and wanting to dance more and more. And I would arrive here and look around like there's nobody to dance with. And after 4 years of that, living in Portugal and still really loving this dance and wanting to do more and more, but realizing there's nobody else who can dance with me, I really started kind of getting down about it, because it was something that I had found in my life that I could be really passionate about, and yet I felt like I couldn't really pursue it. And I had a friend that I met swimming at the pool in Porto. I was living in Porto actually at the beginning when I moved to Portugal, which was in 2012, I think. Sorry, 2002. Yeah. So I moved to Portugal in about 2002 to Porto to teach English. And this friend that I met at the pool, I remember I told him about Lindy Hop and that I danced this, and I would go places to Sweden or to Spain to dance. And he was like, well, why don't you teach Portuguese? And I said, I don't know how to teach this. I just know a little bit. I'm not really sure. And he's like, no, you should start something. You should start something. And he would bug me about it for years. Well, after 4 years of living in Porto and not having anybody to dance with, and realizing, okay, so either I just leave Lindy Hop behind and move on with my life, or I do take his advice and I show people a little bit of what I know and get other people to dance so that I have somebody to dance with besides having to leave the country. So at the time I was taking tap classes with Michel. He was teaching in Porto, and I was taking classes with him, and my classmates were, of course, really into that era, the tap, when tap was really big, when like all dances and jazz music and everything was really big. And so I thought, well, maybe they would be interested in Lindy Hop because they enjoy this kind of music and they enjoy this whole world of vintage dance. And so I'm going to show them some stuff and see if I can convince them to learn a little bit with me. So I would start showing them videos. There wasn't a lot out there at the time. YouTube wasn't that big. But I had some DVDs that a friend of mine had sent me to help me continue dancing while I was kind of like in swing dancing exile in Portugal. And so I started showing them these videos, and I think there were a couple of things on YouTube, like there were some things that Sky Humphreys and Frida was out there, and I think that convinced a couple of people to try it out when they saw them dancing. So it was there were about 8 of us, maybe, something like that. It was really, really small group. Most like the core of them came from my tap dance class, and then they brought a couple of friends or boyfriend or girlfriend, and we started having some sessions in one of the girls taught ballet in a school in Rio Tinto, and so we used to go to use the room there for free. Once a week or once every couple of weeks, I don't really remember, and I had some DVDs by Ryan Francois and Jenny Thomas, And since I didn't really know where to start out from to teach, I started from those DVDs because it was like, okay, well, they know what they're talking about. I'll follow the order in that they're teaching. So we kind of went through the DVDs and started learning that way. And in the meantime, I realized I needed to learn how to lead. So I started teaching myself how to lead so that I could help the people that were learning with me. And it was a really exciting time because we were so crazy about dancing more and more. And you have to think about it. There was nobody really to dance with except for the 8 of us. So to continue having that desire to keep going when there wasn't parties and practices and classes and workshops, there wasn't all of that stuff. Those people were super crazy. We had to be crazy. And we would go out. Sometimes we would go to dance out in the street. There's a place in the center of Porto, right near Piolho, the bar, and we would go out there and we would play the music from the car, and people would look at us like, those people are crazy, what are they doing? Nobody had ever seen any of this kind of dance before. But we knew we were crazy, and we kept on going, and we started convincing other people to join us, and then I would teach like a workshop here and there to get more people into our group, and making homemade flyers and printing them out and spreading them out everywhere that I could think of, and tried to start having some regular classes. And at the beginning, I think I didn't really see myself as a teacher because I knew that I hadn't had all the formal training that I believe that is important to have to learn, and not just the dance and the technique, but also to learn how to teach. I think not every dancer is a teacher, and not every teacher is a very good dancer. I think they're two different things and two skills that need to be learned and need to be worked on. And I was a teacher by profession. I just didn't see myself as a dance teacher. But I started learning how to put my skills as a teacher. At the time teaching English, I had also been a primary school teacher. I started putting those skills together with what I was learning in the dance. And then I was constantly training. On any of my off time, I was practicing solo, practicing dancing with the door, practicing how to lead. And I would grab a couple of followers, Diana and Isabel, especially in Porto, and they would help me practice, and I would practice my leading constantly. And so things kind of were like that for the first years, until there were some guys who were starting to lead at a better level, and then I started having them help me teaching, and I went back to trying to relearn how to follow, because I had learned so much how to lead that it wasn't as easy to follow anymore. So, so that's kind of how things started in the very beginning, and after about a year or so in Porto, maybe a year and a half, Sara Vargas and Carlos de Silva from Lisbon had discovered me on the net. Somehow they were searching to learn how to dance Lindy Hop. They have a group called Caixa de Sodré Cabaret, and they do a lot of vintage kind of shows and burlesque and these things. And they are really into the swing era and wanted to learn to Lindy Hop. So they found out about me and came up and had a private class with me in Porto, and then asked if I'd be willing to go teach in Lisbon. And they got a group of people together who wanted to learn how to dance. So I would come to Lisbon twice a month and teach. And it was really hard because it was too much time in between classes. So it was like having to teach the same thing over again. And it was it's tricky when there's not anybody around to really practice with, or to watch and to learn from on a regular basis. It's really hard for the pioneers, I would call them. It's not an easy time. But eventually more people joined the group, and I went from 2 Sundays a month to 3 Sundays a month, and then to every Thursday, and then to 2 nights a week. And I basically lived like that for a few years, teaching 2 nights a week in Lisbon and 2 nights a week in Porto. And obviously at that point, I had to put other people teaching for me, because thankfully there was more demand. The word was getting out, and people, once you see Lindy Hop and once you experience it, if you like jazz music, it's really hard not to like Lindy Hop and other vintage dances. If you love the music, you kind of want to dance. So things started growing in that way, and then I realized like I needed to kind of put a structure to all of this, and I was kind of working under the name of first Lindy Hop Porto, and then once I started in Lisbon, Lindy Hop Portugal. But I finally opened a school officially in 2012 with the name Swing Station, and since then we've been going strong. we're growing in what we also have to offer. So it started with Lindy Hop, but also I added solo classes, so vintage jazz, and then we added blues as Carla and Hugo decided that they wanted to take on that challenge of trying to get the blues part of the school going and really work on growing that community as well. And then Balboa, which has become a recent passion of mine, and Hugo Silva also decided, yeah, I want to do Balboa. So we decided that we're going to get the Balboa community going. So I'm really proud right now that Swing Station has all of these dances to offer. We have Lindy Hop, vintage jazz, blues, Balboa, tap, and we have workshops with swing aerials and with many other things. So this. It's kind of crazy. It's been a bit of a ride. I wasn't expecting this when I moved to Portugal. I wasn't thinking about this. This is the furthest thing from my mind. And when I first arrived to Portugal, people said, you'll be here for 10 years. I was like, nah, I won't be here for 10 years. I'm going to stay here for a year, and then I'm going to go to China and work there, and then I'm going to go to I don't know where and work there. And I had plans to travel all around the world, and somehow I ended up here for more than 10 years. So yeah, but it's been exciting because I think if I look at my life and the things I've done, I think it's kind of probably, I would say it's the thing that I'm proudest about, is the fact that I got the chance to be part of a movement, to get this movement started in Portugal, to see this dream of just wanting to dance turn into lots of people wanting to dance and never wanting to stop, and to see that I was able to give jobs to people even. I mean, that's pretty exciting too, to create something that has changed many people's lives. People have found their life partners through my classes. People have had babies with those life partners that they found. I mean, it's been pretty exciting to see what has happened. In terms of the way I think as a teacher, I think one time somebody said to me that you have to have fun from the first moment. And that really stuck with me. Because sometimes the first moment is not very fun. It can feel awkward, and it can feel maybe frustrating to some people. It's learning something new, which means you have to come out of your shell and you have to come out of your comfort zone and be willing to accept that you don't know how to do everything. And not everybody deals with that very well. I'm one of those people. So remembering that taking things, taking them, I don't want to say with a grain of salt, but taking things with a grain of fun, putting fun in everything, looking for the fun in it, and not thinking I have to be a pro to have fun. No, I can have fun in my very first class, taking my very first step. And if it's not fun, I don't know if I want to do it. It's going to be work. Doesn't mean that it's going to be easy to get where you want to go. If you do want to evolve at anything, you have to work at it. But you have to enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, then it's kind of pointless. And I think that that's something that I like to bring together when I'm teaching is that I am demanding as a teacher. I try not to demand, and my goal is not to demand more from my students than they could give, but to demand more from them than they think they can give. I think it's that balance of you want to push people to along the lines of where they're going to be better than what they are right now, because you know they can. But at the same time to show them the enjoyment in that, the enjoyment of seeing how all of a sudden your body does something that you didn't know it could do, that your legs can move in a way that you didn't realize that they could move, that your body can relax when it dances, that when you weren't relaxed when you started, or all of these kinds of things. I think that's something that really excites me. I think I like to like to give a lot of energy in my classes, and I like my students to give energy back. I like to feel like we exchange something when we're in the classroom together. Basically, I want students to have a good time, to enjoy themselves, but to feel like they're moving somewhere, and that we're moving somewhere together. So I've been a teacher most of my life. First as a primary school teacher, and then as an English teacher, and now as a dance teacher, and I never stop learning. I think something that's important for me, and it's important for what I feel that my team should have as their objective, is that we never stop learning, be it in the dance or be it in the classroom as teachers. I never taught the best class that I could ever teach in my life. I can always teach better, and I can always dance better. I can always improve myself, and I think that's something that that keeps us going and keeps us moving forward, is because we see that we always have more to go. Not in a negative feeling of I never get there, but in a way that it's exciting. The journey is exciting, and I think I see so many correlations between dance and between life. And a lot of times when I'm teaching, I realize these correlations of, I tell my students many times, as a dancer, especially as a follower, you have to be in the moment. Like what happened, like the last move that happened is not in my head anymore. I don't know what happened. Like I need to be in that moment to figure out to know what my lead wants me to do. I don't know what he's going to do, so I can only live in that moment. And even for leads, I think as they start getting out of feeling the need to have a plan when they come to dance, but also letting themselves flow with what they're feeling from the follower, what they're feeling from the music, and have that conversation. I think that idea of living in the moment, not the past and not the future, is something that we have as a challenge in our lives. So many things like that I see between the dance and between life. And sometimes I go, oh, I can do that a lot better in dance than I can in my life. But I think it's exciting to see how one thing can challenge the other thing and can influence. And I don't see myself ever stopping dance. I will always dance because it's something that's part of me. And I'm so thankful for it, for the way, not just in my professional life, but in my personal life. I like challenges. I like feeling myself moving forward and learning more and seeing myself being able to do things that I couldn't do before. And I think these dances, the swing dances, really give a lot of room to grow. Be it Lindy Hop, be it Balboa, be it Shag, be it whatever of these dances, we always can move somewhere. And I, when I see kind of my heroes in the dance world, who also talk about how they've been growing over the last year, and I think, whoa! But to me, you've got this amazing level, and you're still looking for growth. That tells me that we can all move forward, and we can all continue to learn. And that's something that I want to always remember for myself, and to transmit to my students, and to transmit to my team of teachers. That should be our ideas. We should never accept being stagnant. We should always move forward, wherever that may be. At Swing Station, we don't have only classes. We have workshops and practices and parties, and we have festivals, and that's been exciting too. It's been amazing to bring people from outside of Portugal to Portugal to see this budding and growing community. And I get really excited, and people who know me well. I usually end up crying, bawling my eyes out at the end of the festival with how emotional I get with seeing how much our lives can be touched by dance and by other people who are dancing, and that conversation that we can have with people, no matter which country we're from. It could be from totally different countries, totally different languages, totally different backgrounds, and then we come to the dance floor and we have the same language. We don't even have to open our mouths, and that's something that's really special and makes me very emotional. I don't know how to stop it now. no, bring it to a close. Let me think. I was thinking and then I lost it. Yeah, I just think, are you still going? I would just like to see more people's lives touched by dance, for them to open themselves up and let dance change their world.